Picture this. You're playing your favorite game, and you start to wonder, how much time have I spent on this game? Now obviously, there are only two outcomes. Either the game directly gives you the number, or it doesn't. In that second case, any sane person would think that it's not important. But not me! I love having access to these kinds of statistics. I'm probably in the minority, cause creating a spreadsheet to track statistics about every single game I have ever played is apparently not normal, but I digress. I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of knowing how I spent my time, whether with pride or shame. Please, don't judge me. I was young and I didn't know any better. Hello and good day everyone. Sit back and relax as I guide you through this deep dive into the world of tracking playtime in video games, its possible origin, which consoles supported it, to which extent, and if the industry is embracing or moving away from these statistics. Let's quickly skip through the genesis of video games, as arcades weren't built for a single person to exclusively play them, so except if you manually recorded how much time you spent playing, you're out of luck. As for older consoles and older PC games, you could think that none would even bother, and you'd be absolutely wrong, except like really old ones. But, Initially, I thought that the earliest instances would be on the Super Nintendo, or maybe even the NES, and I was prepared to give examples such as Final Fantasy V, Donkey Kong Country, and Super Metroid. How naive. I dug deeper and asked more knowledgeable people on the retro gaming Reddit. Amazingly, they gave me a plethora of even older examples. There were a few games that barely fitted what I was looking for, such as Metroid from 1986, which tracked your playtime and gave you different endings depending on how long you took, but sadly, it doesn't display it. I then thought that the oldest was Kool, which came out for the NES in 1988. It did the same multiple endings thing as Metroid, but it did display the timer. But maybe the oldest could have been released 2 years earlier with King Quest III for Apple II. But no, the earliest examples were Pitfall, which came out in 1982, and Superman, which came out in 1979 on the Atari 2600. The former sadly isn't what we are looking for, as it is a countdown, and if that counts, then any game with a timer would qualify. But the latter has a displayed timer for the whole duration of the game. For reference, that's 2 years before Donkey Kong came out, and 1 year before Pac-Man came out. That's simply amazing. Before we move on, if you know any other examples that could go even further back, feel free to mention them in the comments. For a little while, no console would track playtime, as game data was stored on the cartridge, and they didn't have a main menu. Even if the console itself didn't, many games started doing it. The ones who did displayed the number of hours played on the pause menu or on the save file. That's usually where they are still found today. Interestingly, RPGs were, and still are, the most common genre to feature playtime, possibly because they take much longer to finish than most other games. It wasn't until the 6th generation that a few games started to show the time played outside of the game, by putting it in the memory card menu. When consoles started to use CDs, they couldn't store the save data on the game anymore. They had to resort to storing the data externally with memory cards. While most games simply displayed the game's name and the last time played, and maybe the completion percentage if you were lucky, some used this feature to display the playtime of the save on the console's menu, without starting the game, or even without having the disc in the console. Which, again, nothing universal, as it was up to the devs to go out of their way to do it, but it's still neat. This generation had relatively bare-bones menus, as they were the first consoles to have menus at all. Aside from booting up a game, there were a few options, and an access to the memory cards. Iconic menus for sure, but rudimentary at best compared to today. This all changed with the arrival of the 7th generation of consoles. Now, the menus had evolved into hubs packed with necessary features, as you could, for the first time ever, buy games digitally, and thus had access to multiple games without changing the disc. There were online stores, messages to other users, and plenty of apps to mess around in. You must be thinking, oh, that's cool and all, but there weren't any way to track playtimes on these consoles? And you'd be mostly right. On the DS, PS3, PSP, and Xbox 360, some games had the usual in-game playtime, and a few here and there gave that info on the save file directly on the home menu. But on the Wii, we had a beginning, a sprout of what was to come, and its name was The Wii message board. For those who don't remember, the Wii message board was essentially a calendar where you could post memos, send messages, and some games would send you messages from time to time. Other games used it creatively, such as how Super Mario Galaxy 2 told you how much time you spent playing the game once you finished it. That's not why it's interesting here. The reason is, you guessed it, that it tells you how much time you spent on which games each individual day, presented in a list ordered by when you started the game on that day, and telling you the number of hours and minutes in each session in a little envelope on the specific day. It only gives you a recap of each day, but you can also see which days you've played in monthly view, which is really useful if you want to tally the hours up. Even though it's really cool to be able to see the daily time, it would have been better to have a total number displayed somewhere. That would have saved me a few hours, because yeah, I did it manually, I know. I told you I was obsessed. Excuse me. Hello?
Yabo yabo, ui te kuru hang pam pam.
Mm-hmm.
Cha 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 cha.
What do you mean?
Ororo no jibigagi.
Wait, what? The Nintendo channel gave the full list of every game and its playtime, but then they stopped the service 10 years ago, and it was never available on Wii U? I think I need a minute. Why would they have stopped? That's stupid. I don't understand. Why? Why? Is there a reason? I don't think so. They could have put it on this web and no one... Regardless of that fact, the feature was a step in the right direction, as the next generation would go almost all in with playtimes. To this day, I still believe that nothing beats the 3DS in terms of stats and playtime out of any video game hardware or launcher. We'll get to one or two interesting features that weren't on it, but it's the best, and it's not even close. The activity log is a pre-installed app on every system of the Nintendo 3DS family of systems, and it's the most comprehensive set of play data you'll get. While keeping the Wii's calendar system, it neatly organizes the top screen as a graph of each month of a year, or each day of a month, or even each hour of a day, and tells you the most played game of that period. When you press this button, you get to see how much time you played each game to the minute, organized by decreasing number of hours played, while still telling you the period's total and number of apps/games played. It would already have been the best if it had stopped here, but it's not over. It also gives you the stats for games individually. Each game has 5 different statistics: total playtime, the number of times you open the app, the average play session, and both the first and last time you've played. And it ranks them in a list ordered by any of these 5 criteria, and giving little gold, silver, and bronze crowns to the top 3 games of each category. One last thing is that it also keeps track of demos, DS games, virtual console games, and apps. In case you want to know how much time you spent on a friend list. That might seem a bit basic for some, or just uninteresting for others, but it gets really inconsistent later on. It really is unmatched. It's perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details. Bonus points for having a little book where you can organize the icons of every single app you've ever used, and for having the same graphs for steps taken. Humanity peaked in 2011. The following year, the Wii U released to immense success. Yep, everyone had a Wii U. Don't worry about that guy, he's delusional. Anyhow, the Wii U also came pre-installed with a similar app called the Daily Log. Bizarrely, it's not as thorough as the Activity Log, yet still better than the Wii's. Before comparing, let's analyze. The Daily Log tells you how much time you spent on each game, each day, and a daily or monthly total. Akin to the 3DS's Activity Log, the games are ordered from most played to least played, on the day or month, but not the year. Which, why? What a peculiar exclusion. Moving on, you still have the graphs on the top screen or TV, and the details on the gamepad. To see a game's total playtime, you simply press on the game's icon and it displays 2 stats, this total and the number of times played. The final notable feature is the ability to skip to the next or previous day/month that has data by pressing on either L or R. And that's pretty much it. Don't get me wrong, it's already great and a good deal better than practically any other. It just strikes me as odd for it to be lacking convenient features from the 3DS. Why can't we see a summary for any given year? Why couldn't they implement the app ranking? Why leave out the 3 other simple stats for each game? I guess that they're easily found thanks to the app, but that's no excuse, as it means that the app also could have done it itself. My final gripe with the daily log is that it doesn't keep track of Wii games, which is a minor one, and it's surely due to the Wii's emulation. Nevertheless, it is a bit saddening, though at least it mentions at the bottom of the day if the Wii mode was used, which I can appreciate. I'd like to state again that it is really good, yet a bit disappointing for the company who's created the pinnacle of this sort of game data a year prior. Okay, one last thing for real this time, about the 3DS and Wii U's logs. In February 2022, Nintendo provided a website for 3DS and Wii U memories, where they gave you a small collection of stats for both consoles, with the total hours played on the system, the number of software used, your top 3 most played games, and their total time played, and your favorite genre based on the time spent. That was a neat little goodbye of recorded data from the console's launches to somewhere around 2020. Oh well, I'm sure it will be even better on the next console, or at least just as good. They couldn't do anything to mess this up, right? Right? Okay, I won't do the bit of complaining that there isn't anything regarding playtime on Sony consoles, but I am gonna mention trophies. Trophies on PS3 and then on PS4 and PS Vita were introduced in 2008, a few years after Xbox achievements. And data-wise, they tell you when you earned them, which is cool, allowing you to approximately know when you started a game or when you finished it, or blah 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 depending on the trophies. But that's not the main topic here, so that's all you get, PS4, for now at least. As I just mentioned, Xbox also implemented achievements and told you when they were acquired. I'm gonna preface the following section by saying that I've never owned an Xbox and that I don't have access to one, so if and when I am mistaken, please don't use a gigaspace laser to disintegrate me into oblivion. Please? So, from what I've gathered, most, if not all, Xbox One and Xbox Series games support and display time played in the stats section of the game, whilst Xbox 360 games don't even have a stats section. Games that have this stats section may also display other fun game statistics, usually related to specific actions in the game. For instance, Stardew Valley displays the amount of gold earned, the number of fish caught, etc., or Mortal Kombat 1 tells you the number of matches played and matches won. You get the idea. And again, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that you can see other people's console playtime online. Moreover, you have also access to stats of PC and mobile games if you linked your Microsoft account. Plus, on the mobile app, you now also can see these stats. Comparing this one to the 3DS's wouldn't do it justice. Yet, it allows you to check friends' playtimes, which is a feature that has become a staple in the industry. So, props to them. Overall, this is the minimum I would love to be standard. Just seeing each game's total playtime and seeing friends' playtime too. Anything more is a luxury. The following segment could cause shock. Viewer discretion is advised. I love the Switch. I love pretty much everything about it, so it pains me to have to be this negative. But why oh why? We had a good thing, you stupid log of activities. We had stats. We had graphs. We had everything we needed. It all ran like clockwork. It was perfect. But no, you just had to blow it up. You and your pride and your ego. You just had to give good stats, and if you'd done your job, known your place, we'd all be fine right now. Now we're stuck with approximate times of multiples of 5 hours or more. I would have been okay with only having the total number of hours, not even minutes. But no! Furthermore, you can only see up to 20 games on your and your friends' profiles. If you happen to have more than 20 games or demos, you're out of luck. You have to boot up a game to make it appear and be able to see the data. Can you tell it bothers me? Well, I have 2 good and even more bad news. The first good one is that you have access to a console-wide ranking of your most played games unlocked when you have more than 12 apps or games installed thanks to this toggle here. The second is that thanks to an update, you can compare all of your friends' playtimes for any game they have in common. But that still doesn't excuse the bad. The bad is that they have the precise stats. I feel betrayed! Each year, since like 2020 in the US and 2021 worldwide, Nintendo gives a detailed year in review for your account filled to the brim with stats. In 2021, it showed how much time you spent each month, even telling you the day you spent the most time, the ratio of portable and docked play, the year's total playtime compared to 2020's, your top 3 most played games and their time played this year, the number of games played in 2021 compared to the number of games played in 2020, and of new games started in 2021. In 2022, we had even more precise stats, with the total playtime of 2022 of every single game you've played, plus the number of days you started the game this year. Then, in 2023, we got the number of games played and total yearly play, a top 3 of your most played games with their 2023 playtime, and the month when you played it the most, a ranking of your most played genres, each month's playtime, number of games played and days played, and how many hours you've played your most played game that month. And again, how long you've played each game this year, plus the precise date you first played the game. Not of the year, but ever since you got an account on the Switch. If they had these statistics, why not have an app akin to the ones on the previous consoles? You have these stats.
Yep.
And you give them to us every year.
Yep.
If you have them and give them to us every year, that means you want us to be able to know them.
Makes sense to me.
Then let us have access to it all year round.
Nope.
It boggles my mind. It really does. I'm speechless. I must stop talking about the Switch or else we'll be here all day. And I must hope that they give us these stats for the next console. Yeah! Pew pew! Where was I? Oh yeah, the PS5. And it's a Sony console. What do you expect? What do you mean? Let's go! I've changed my mind. Nintendo's not my best friend anymore. Sony is. Great job, Sony. On the PlayStation 5, you have access to the total number of hours played of each game. Yippee! Not only that, but it retroactively shows you the time played for games that you've played on PS4. What more could you ask for? And of course, you can also see other people's playtime and compare them to yours. You can even organize them from most played to least played. It checks every box. It's a bit strange that they had these stats for PS4 and forgot to make them available, but it's kind of fixed now, so nothing more to say. It's good, I like it. And because it already gives enough info on the console itself, unlike someone... I actually don't mind their yearly recaps giving more info, such as monthly playtime, total yearly playtime, number of days played, a top 5 most played, trophies earned, etc. Would have been neat to have them always available, but as long as I have the minimum I've asked for, I'm happy. In addition, thanks to a recent update, you can see your 3 most recently played games' total playtime directly on the PS app, which is sweet. Lastly, we got Steam, and before you ask, sadly, I'm not able to research PC launchers as in-depth as I did with consoles, because as with Xbox, I don't have access to any. And no, I won't do any other PC launcher, because I know even less about them. All I'm gonna say is that you can see games time played on the Epic Game Store, I think. So, Steam, really good, has total playtime of each game, number of hours of the past 2 weeks, and other features, but 1, this video is already too long, and 2, as I said, it would be hard for me to thoroughly explain everything. Final words on it, it's great. I know this video might already be too long, so I'll quickly wrap things up. I love seeing playtimes, so please continue showing it as you are doing right now, Mr. or Madam Sony, Microsoft and Valve. And as for you, Nintendo, you can do better. You have done better. Little tier list of the consoles and Steam based on that feature alone. S tier, 3DS, pinnacle of human craftsmanship. A tier, Wii U for the details, Xbox One and Series for the other stats and the online sharing, Steam, and the Wii with the Nintendo channel. B tier, PS5. C tier, the Wii without the Nintendo channel, because most people care about the totals, not the individual days, and it takes such a long time to switch. No comment. D, any other system, because they don't have that. Cool. Did you know that liking and subscribing are also cool stats that you can increase? So please do it. Please. Thanks, bye-bye, have a good day.